Bangladesh, a country often overshadowed by its economic struggles and environmental challenges, holds a complex and intriguing story that many are unaware of. From the sprawling slums of Dhaka to the cultural practices in remote regions, this South Asian nation presents a mosaic of resilience, tradition, and stark reality. In this video, we will delve into 10 of the most surprising and shocking facts about Bangladesh. These stories will not only shed light on the difficulties faced by millions, but also reveal the enduring spirit of its people. One of the last facts on this list will undoubtedly leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the country. So make sure you stay with us until the very end. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay updated on more eye-opening and thought-provoking stories from around the globe. Welcome to World Marvels. 10. Living in cemeteries. In Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh and one of the most densely populated cities in the world, there are slums built on ancient cemeteries where thousands of people make their homes. These makeshift shelters, often constructed from flimsy sheets of metal and other scrap materials, offer little protection against the elements. The people living here are mostly impoverished farmers who migrated to the city in search of a better life. However, instead of finding prosperity, they found themselves forced to settle in these eerie graveyard slums. These areas lack basic necessities like clean water, electricity, and proper sanitation. The only source of water is often contaminated wells, dug by the residents themselves. Life in these cemetery slums is incredibly harsh. Residents survive by taking up any work they can find, often low-paying jobs such as gravekeeping or manual labor. The environment is far from safe. Drug raids and police crackdowns are common, and many innocent lives have been lost in the violence that plagues these areas. Despite these hardships, the residents have little choice but to make these graveyards their permanent home, and generations of families have grown up among the tombstones. The cemetery slums of Dhaka are a haunting testament to the extreme poverty that forces people to live in such dire conditions. 9. The dirtiest country in the world. Bangladesh, especially its bustling capital Dhaka, is grappling with a severe environmental crisis. Air pollution levels in Dhaka have reached alarming heights, making it one of the most polluted cities globally. The city's air is thick with smog, and the sky is often obscured by a haze of fine dust and other harmful particles. This pollution is primarily caused by traffic emissions, particularly from outdated vehicles that spew black smoke, industrial factories, and the widespread practice of burning straw and other agricultural waste. The impact of this environmental disaster on public health is profound, with increasing cases of respiratory diseases, cardiovascular problems, and even cancer among the population. Children, the elderly, and those with pre-existing health conditions are the most vulnerable to the effects of this pollution. The situation is exacerbated by rapid urbanization and inadequate infrastructure, which have made it difficult to manage the city's waste and emissions effectively. Although the Bangladeshi government has introduced measures to curb pollution, such as regulating vehicle emissions and promoting clean energy, enforcement of these regulations remains weak. As a result, millions of people in Dhaka continue to suffer the consequences of living in such a toxic environment. The air pollution crisis in Bangladesh is a stark reminder of the urgent need for sustainable development and stronger environmental protections. 8. Wandering children everywhere. The streets of Dhaka are filled with a heart-wrenching sight. Children wandering aimlessly, often in tattered clothes, begging for food or money. These children, many of whom are orphans or come from extremely poor families, face a daily struggle for survival. Overpopulation, a deeply ingrained tradition of having large families, and pervasive social issues such as inequality, corruption, and natural disasters have led to an overwhelming number of street children in Bangladesh. With no access to education or stable employment, these children are left to fend for themselves in a city that offers little in the way of support. The lives of these wandering children are fraught with danger. They are highly vulnerable to exploitation by criminal gangs, who use them for illegal activities ranging from petty theft to drug trafficking. Many of these children also fall victim to violence, sexual abuse, and human trafficking. Their future is bleak, with no prospects for education or stable jobs, and they are often trapped in a cycle of poverty that is nearly impossible to escape. The presence of so many street children not only highlights the severe social challenges facing Bangladesh, but also contributes to rising crime rates and other societal issues. Despite the severity of the problem, government intervention has been minimal, leaving these vulnerable children with little hope for a better future. 7. Widespread child marriage. Child marriage remains a significant issue in Bangladesh, with the country having one of the highest rates of child marriage in the world. Millions of girls are forced into marriage before they reach the age of 15, a practice driven largely by poverty and deep-seated patriarchal norms. For many poor families, marrying off their daughters at a young age is seen as a way to reduce the financial burden on the family. The practice of dowries, where the bride's family must pay a large sum of money to the groom's family, further exacerbates the situation. By marrying off their daughters early, families can minimize the dowry they must pay. The consequences of child marriage are devastating. Young girls are robbed of their childhood and are often forced to drop out of school, denying them the opportunity for education and personal development. They are also at risk of serious health complications from early pregnancy and childbirth, which their bodies are not yet fully developed to handle. Domestic violence is another common issue in these early marriages, with young brides frequently becoming victims of abuse by their husbands and in-laws. Despite efforts by the government and various non-governmental organizations to combat child marriage, the practice remains deeply entrenched in rural communities. In some cases, local officials even aid in falsifying identification documents to hide the true age of underage brides, making it even more difficult to prevent child marriages from occurring. 6. The struggle with polygamy. Polygamy is a controversial and complex issue in Bangladesh, where it remains legal under Islamic law. However, the practice is far from straightforward and often leads to significant social and economic challenges, particularly for women. The Bangladeshi government has attempted to curb polygamy by introducing a tax on additional wives, with the amount increasing with each subsequent marriage. This measure is intended to discourage men, particularly in impoverished rural areas, from taking multiple wives, as such marriages often result in injustice and hardship for women and children. Despite these efforts, polygamy persists in many parts of the country, especially in rural areas where patriarchal attitudes remain strong. For many men, having multiple wives is seen as a way to assert their status and ensure enough labor for farming. However, the practice often leads to significant inequality within families, with wives competing for their husband's attention and resources. This can create a tense and sometimes hostile environment, particularly for the children, who may suffer from neglect or abuse. The tax on multiple wives has had some impact, but it is clear that more comprehensive solutions are needed to address the underlying issues that drive polygamy in Bangladesh. 5. Eating trash to survive. In the hidden corners of Dhaka, Bangladesh, a disturbing reality unfolds as thousands of people, particularly the poor, are forced to scavenge through trash to find food. This heartbreaking practice, known locally as pag, involves collecting spoiled bread, leftover chicken, and other discarded food items from restaurants, hotels, and supermarkets. These scraps are then roughly prepared and consumed by those who have no other means of feeding themselves. The stark contrast between the wealthy, who throw away excess food, and the poor, who must sift through garbage to survive, highlights the deep social inequalities that exist in Bangladesh. Eating pag is not just about filling an empty stomach. It is a desperate measure taken by those who have no other options. The food that is scavenged from the trash is often contaminated, posing significant health risks to those who consume it. Bacterial infections, digestive diseases, and food poisoning are common among those who rely on pag for sustenance. Additionally, exposure to waste and unsanitary conditions makes these individuals more susceptible to other infectious diseases. Despite the risks, the practice continues, driven by the severe poverty that affects a large portion of the population. The situation is exacerbated by the lack of government intervention and social support systems. While there are some efforts to address food waste and support the poor, they are often insufficient to meet the needs of the population. The widespread practice of eating pag serves as a stark reminder of the extreme poverty and inequality that persists in Bangladesh, and the urgent need for more effective solutions to address these issues. 4. The busy and chaotic traffic system. Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, is notorious for its chaotic traffic system. The city streets are a constant buzz of activity, with vehicles of all kinds jostling for space on the narrow, congested roads. The blaring horns of cars, buses, and rickshaws create a symphony of noise that is uniquely Dhaka. Navigating the city's traffic is a challenge for both locals and visitors alike, as the roads are often in poor condition, riddled with potholes, and filled with an overwhelming number of vehicles. Rickshaws, a symbol of Dhaka, are a common sight on the city's streets. These small, three-wheeled vehicles are used to transport both people and goods, weaving through the crowded alleys with surprising agility. However, the convenience of rickshaws comes with its own set of problems. Safety is a major concern, as rickshaws offer little protection in the event of an accident. Additionally, the sheer number of rickshaws on the road contributes to traffic congestion and environmental pollution. The public transportation system in Dhaka is also plagued with issues. Buses are often overcrowded, poorly maintained, and run on irregular schedules, making them an unreliable option for many commuters. Despite these challenges, the people of Dhaka have adapted to the chaotic traffic conditions, finding ways to navigate the city's streets with remarkable resilience and ingenuity. To address the traffic issues in Dhaka, comprehensive and long-term solutions are needed. Investments in public transportation infrastructure, road expansion projects, and increased public awareness of traffic safety are essential steps in improving the situation. However, these efforts will require significant resources and political will to implement effectively. 3. Enduring natural disasters. Bangladesh is a country of striking natural beauty, with lush landscapes that include the Sundarbans mangrove forest, home to the Bengal tiger, and the picturesque tea gardens of Sylhet. However, this beauty is tempered by the harsh reality that Bangladesh is one of the most vulnerable countries in the world to natural disasters. Each year, the country faces devastating floods, powerful storms, and severe soil erosion, all of which have a profound impact on the lives of millions of people. Floods are a regular occurrence in Bangladesh, particularly during the monsoon season. These floods submerge entire villages, destroy crops, and displace thousands of people from their homes. Major storms, such as cyclones Sidr and Ayla, have caused widespread destruction, leaving behind a trail of death and devastation. The country's powerful rivers, including the Ganges, Brahmaputra, and Meghna, are prone to frequent flooding and erosion, which further exacerbates the challenges faced by the population. Despite these ongoing threats, the people of Bangladesh have shown remarkable resilience in the face of adversity. The government has implemented various programs aimed at mitigating the effects of natural disasters, including building flood defenses, raising public awareness, and promoting environmental conservation. However, the scale of the challenges requires international cooperation and investment in sustainable development projects. As climate change continues to intensify the frequency and severity of natural disasters, Bangladesh must continue to adapt and innovate to protect its people and its environment. 2. The growing wealth gap. Bangladesh is experiencing a widening wealth gap, with a small portion of the population living in luxury, while a large majority struggles to meet basic needs. According to recent statistics, 31.5% of the population lives below the poverty line, meaning tens of millions of people lack access to adequate food, clean water, housing, and healthcare. This growing divide between the rich and the poor is deepening social divisions and creating significant challenges for the country's long-term development. The causes of this widening wealth gap are complex and multifaceted. Historical factors, unequal economic growth, unfair income distribution, and an inefficient land system all contribute to the disparity. Additionally, frequent natural disasters further exacerbate the situation, particularly in rural areas where infrastructure and public services are underdeveloped. The poor in these regions often lack the resources and opportunities needed to escape poverty, while the wealthy, concentrated in urban centers, continue to accumulate wealth and influence. The impact of this wealth gap extends beyond individual hardship. It contributes to social instability, as those who are left behind become increasingly disillusioned and frustrated. This frustration can lead to higher rates of crime, violence, and social unrest. The wealth gap also hinders the country's sustainable development, as a large portion of the population remains excluded from economic opportunities and advancement. Addressing this growing inequality requires a comprehensive approach. The government must prioritize poverty reduction, job creation, and improving access to education and healthcare. Additionally, fairer income distribution policies and land reforms are necessary to ensure that the benefits of economic growth are shared more equitably among the population. 1. Women in the adult entertainment industry. In Bangladesh, widespread poverty has forced many women into the adult entertainment industry as a means of survival. Despite the fact that prostitution is illegal in the country, it remains one of the most profitable industries, both domestically and abroad. Women in this line of work often face significant dangers, including the risk of contracting sexually transmitted diseases, particularly HIV/AIDS, due to the lack of sexual education and access to reproductive health care. The adult entertainment industry in Bangladesh is highly organized, with various channels, including online platforms, facilitating the exploitation of women. In cities like Dhaka, there are Facebook groups and specialized websites catering to men seeking to satisfy their desires. Although the government has made efforts to crack down on this illegal industry, enforcement is inconsistent, and the demand for such services remains high. For many women, entering the adult entertainment industry is not a choice but a necessity, driven by extreme poverty and lack of opportunities. These women are often the sole providers for their families and are willing to take on the inherent risks to ensure their survival. The conditions they work under are often deplorable, with little to no protection from exploitation or abuse. This situation highlights the urgent need for more comprehensive social support systems and economic opportunities for women in Bangladesh, to prevent them from being forced into such dangerous and degrading work. Bangladesh is a country of stark contrasts, where beauty and tragedy coexist in a complex tapestry of culture, tradition, and hardship. From the bustling streets of Dhaka to the remote rural areas, the challenges faced by its people are immense. Yet, their resilience and determination to overcome these obstacles are truly remarkable. As we have seen, the issues of poverty, inequality, and exploitation are deeply rooted in Bangladeshi society, but they are not insurmountable. With the right policies, support systems, and international cooperation, there is hope for a brighter future for the people of Bangladesh. What do you think about the stories we've shared? Did any of these facts surprise you? Or do you have more to add about the situation in Bangladesh? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, World Marvels, for more eye-opening stories from around the world. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world with us.